Good evening, this is the Oscar Expert with Brother Rowe, and it's time for updated acting categories. I think we should give a Best Actress update. We can continue the Wicked conversation, because I've been thinking about Cynthia Erivo a lot. I really do understand the feeling that Erivo is just a snub at the end of the day, and everyone will be outraged, but, you know, life will go on. But part of me is really wondering if the comparisons that we're making to Erivo, be it like Margot Robbie or, I don't know, what else is like a big kind of blockbuster performance that got snubbed? I'm not really sure. I get the feeling though, I get the sentiment that maybe they would want to go for like a more subtle performance here, and often the Oscars do throw in like a Marianne Jean-Baptiste or a Fernanda Torres,
which aren't like really necessarily subtle.
No, not necessarily, but you know, something international that like takes over somebody.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm definitely looking out. I think Fernanda Torres and Marianne Jean-Baptiste are contenders to really watch out for as like a potential that kind of sneaks in without necessarily getting every precursor.
So long as they get BAFTA, it's very possible. But Wicked, unlike maybe some other blockbusters, leads so hard with the performances. If you think about Wicked, you don't think about the filmmaker, really. You think about Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Like, those are the two people that you think of when you think of the movie.
Right.
Their faces are everywhere. Wicked's a musical that offers Cynthia Erivo the opportunity to emote and use her voice in, like, several big solo show-stopping moments. I mean,
and also people just thinking about, okay, well, I'm voting for Ariana Grande here. Like, why wouldn't I also put in Cynthia Erivo?
Although my initial reaction when we said it so in the review is that she wouldn't get nominated.
Yeah.
I just don't know for sure that that actually fits.
Yeah.
I really don't know if we can deny something.
I think that's very fair to rethink that, especially if we're going to say that Wicked could win best. Like, if it's going to win best ensemble, like, it's going to get an underperformance.
Well, that's the thing I was thinking is, like, at SAG alone, like, I'm going to still predict Mikey Madison, okay? But if we're thinking about who's runner-up to SAG Best Actress, I am legitimately thinking it could be Cynthia Erivo. She may be closer to winning SAG than getting snubbed, at least at SAG. And so if she's really that close.
If it's the kind of situation where once she's nominated, we just put her up at number 2 and say, well, she could win now.
Right.
It's weird to say she wouldn't be a lock for a nomination.
I mean, if we're thinking about who's number 2 to win, like, who could actually upset Mikey Madison at the Oscars? Like,
I actually agree with you. I think that's
seriously.
The only other person that could potentially win if it's a Wicked Palooza.
That's the thing, though, is like, if you do accept Erivo in there, you kind of might even want to inch her up really high, which is why I'm kind of confused and maybe want to put her in. As long as the substance is in, Demi Moore is getting in. If the substance is not in, she still has a shot.
No.
She has a shot.
No.
I think she'd probably end up getting snubbed. But
correct.
Right now I have the substance in, so I have Demi Moore in. And then, you know, Mikey Madison, Carla Sofia Gascon, probably still getting nominated.
Yeah.
That would be kind of insane.
I'm feeling like Amelia Perez could take a hit here or there, but I think she's still going to get in. Like, she seems still really strong.
Then you have Jolie making up kind of the 5. This is probably what Gold Derby has, or something close to it. I don't know if Kidman's still in their 5, or maybe Baptiste actually might be in their 5. But this actually feels kind of like a SAG lineup, doesn't it? With
what?
Jolie
may or may not get nominated at the SAG.
Yeah, but Netflix got Ana de Armas in for Blonde. And also Angelina Jolie being more of a veteran than Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
I feel like there's maybe something there, even though the movie's less liked, but which I do think we have to, you know, watch out for it for that reason. And maybe Angelina Jolie's not even a lock for the Oscar nomination, which I think some people don't want to admit, but is probably true. But I really do get the feeling that this 5, there has to be a disruption in the form of, as we said, like, probably Baptiste or Torres.
There could be a major snub that you just won't even see coming.
Right, but what would we predict right now is my question. Are we going to just predict, like...
I think this is the thing. Because there could be a snub, I think you have to go with what's safe to be the most accurate, and what's always safe is who's going to be in a Best Picture anchor.
That's the thing, too. I see a lot of people going, there's no room for Erivo because you've got Kidman, and you've got Baptiste, and you've got Saoirse Ronan, and it's like...
Yeah, hello, those are not anchored to any other nominations.
These are floating lone actress nominees. I think we have to consider that a lot of them aren't as safe as we thought, especially Saoirse Ronan for The Outrun. I mean, that movie feels like small peanuts at this point.
Yeah.
And Sony Pictures Classics may have a better contender with Torres.
I think you can make the case for, now we have 4 Best Picture films with leading actress contenders, okay? Even though you love Nicole Kidman and Baby Girl, I fucking think that performance is, like, amazing. It's, you know, top tier, one of the best of the year easily. Even though you may feel this way about many of these performances, I think it's to be objective and just say like, well, they have a harder time at getting in than the films that have a Best Picture anchor. And yes, it didn't happen with Margot Robbie in Barbie, but that was actually kind of rare. Like, it was a little bit against the rule. I think we did some kind of analysis about this last year.
We determined that they often go for actresses tied to Best Picture movies.
Yeah.
So we determined her to be more likely than like Annette Bening.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen.
Right. And it didn't happen. So it's like someone could still get snubbed.
Baby Girl is a little bit odd of a movie, and I know that Nicole Kidman's Nicole Kidman, and I fully believe that she has what it takes to get nominated for a movie like this. You know, something like Rabbit Hole happened, but the competition...
It's funny though, because you just said Annette Bening for Nyad. Like, I was totally just dismissing Annette Bening for Nyad, and then she ended up getting in like almost everywhere. But it's because she's Annette Bening that really helped her get in for Nyad. Nicole Kidman is Nicole Kidman.
That's true, but Annette Bening, that was like a biopic performance. We have to really note that.
That's true.
The biopic performance is like Ana de Armas too. It was something that it was easy to say it's not going to happen, but
I just want to know that I'm not having an easy time dismissing many of these performances. Everyone should be scared about this category because anything could happen.
I really want Baptiste to get in there.
Yeah.
And I know that she's getting Golden Globe and BAFTA, and so she get like, there's a shot, there's a path.
And it feels like Oscar would go out and kind of save the day with this nomination.
I mean, some people think Bleecker Street is a boon on her campaign, but this is a Mike Leigh film as well, and Baptiste is a great narrative, reuniting with him. It's showy, it's big. The movie, I think, could be a tad isolating, but like, there's just no denying how good that performance is. It may be very hard to deny. Yeah. And I've been predicting her for, I guess, a couple months. So am I ready to take that out? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I mean, Angelina Jolie is the best number 5 to have, also because she's probably winning Golden Globe drama.
Yeah, unless Torres or Kidman won. So who did we not even mention that a lot of people think is in the conversation? Amy Adams, we didn't even mention.
Do people even still think that?
People don't like that movie, and I don't see her being able to squeeze in this year. I'm not seeing that anymore. Also, Tilda Swinton, Room Next Door, I'm not seeing that either. I just don't think it's quite up there.
No.
Pamela Anderson, Last Showgirl, that's towards the bottom. So in Best Actor, you know, we've got the same 4. We've got Brody.
We have the opposite problem of actress. Like, we can't find the number 5.
Brody, Chalamet, Domingo, and Fiennes. We are pretty confident that these 4 are getting in. I mean, it would be insane if anything else happened. I think that the number 1 and 2 are Brody and Chalamet. Having seen A Complete Unknown, Timmy really impressed. And I think he's doing a lot of the things that will put him in the winning conversation, I think. A lot of people will come away from the movie thinking, oh, he could win for that. That makes sense. Like, he played Bob Dylan and he nailed it. He was singing and playing guitar and playing harmonica. He did the voice. He did the mannerisms. Like, that's the kind of transformation that often wins the category.
But he's also not that, you know, the character himself is not very vulnerable. So it's not like he gets many moments where he's like breaking down crying and that sort of thing. Very much up their alley. Something that has a chance to win, but I'm not quite there with like, that's gonna win.
But you have to admit that it's scary that it could win SAG.
Yeah, I would say he could probably win the SAG. But again, even if he won the SAG and A Complete Unknown was not in Best Picture, I would just say it's probably Adrian Brody.
It entirely depends on if A Complete Unknown is in picture, because if it's not in picture, Brody's got it. If it is in picture, Brody needs to watch the fuck out. Honestly, I will be scared if A Complete Unknown makes it into Best Picture. I'll be very scared of Chalamet. I don't really see that compelling of a reason to put it in Best Picture otherwise.
Ray Fiennes, I think people are only predicting him for a career narrative reason. And, you know, of course that's always compelling, but it's not often what wins out. I would say, like, it's like every other time, you know, for every example where someone wins maybe because their career helped them, you can also find another example where the person who won had less of a career narrative than like the runner-up. I also think Brody has like a really good career narrative if you want to go there. Just making a full circle with The Pianist. We haven't seen him on screen like this in a while, except for like popping up here and there in Wes Anderson
He's
films.
also absurdly good, and his performance is big. The performance is heartbreaking. And it's absolutely incredible. It really is such a brilliant and layered performance. It's one of those things where it's I watched the movie and I went, that's the Oscar winner. I remember I felt that way when I watched The Father.
Yeah, so that's number 1. Coleman Domingo, we had him at number 1 for the beginning of the year until we saw Adrian Brody in The Brutalist. Sing Sing couldn't happen without him. Like, even just as a film, it feels like he's anchoring that. He's got to get the nomination here. He's just fantastic in it. It would be a great win, honestly, if he did end up winning. So what the fuck is the number 5, okay?
I'll tell you.
I think Kingsley Ben-Adir is going to get the SAG nom, though.
That's what
that's
I
my best
think.
guess for what's going to happen at SAG. And the reason is they're giving him an awards push. They're trying to make it happen. I think he's potentially going to pop up somewhere like SAG. SAG is sometimes the only place to nominate certain contenders.
Jennifer Hudson, in Respect, I think she only got SAG. Also, Adam Sandler in Hustle was a crazy lone thing that was not even close to the Oscar.
I don't know if we would even take him seriously if he got the SAG nomination.
I think we would have to take him seriously because also SAG's been really, really accurate with this particular category. It's really not feeling like Sebastian Stan's going to happen because after the election, we didn't really know if it'd be like, now that Trump's going to be in office again, it'll feel relevant to keep attacking him. But it actually just feels like really bad. People don't want to think about it, and so they probably want to avoid the movie, and no one's going to want to watch the movie.
I've been just hearing the sentiment that I don't even want to watch it. Like, I already see this guy on the TV all the time. He makes me upset. He makes my blood pressure go up. Why would I spend, an hour and a half or 2 hours watching this film? I don't think Sebastian Stan and The Apprentice is happening anymore, even though I did think that.
Even Hollywood is seeming to kind of turn away from this movie. Sebastian Stan says he wasn't able to secure an actors on actors interview at Variety because the publicist of all the actors who were up for it were advising against it, even though it's a deserving performance. Jesse Eisenberg in A Real Pain definitely has an opportunity here to start shooting up. The Golden Globe nominations coming for him.
He's in a Best Picture movie. He's the only one here who has a shot at getting in for a Best Picture movie.
I think the Astra nomination maybe boosted some people's confidence as well.
I think critics might start doing it. That's the thing. He might get like a groundswell of support. Even though the performance doesn't feel like it would get a Best Actor nomination, it feels like the show is stolen by Kieran Culkin.
It also feels like he's really campaigning himself as a writer here.
Yeah.
In almost every interview, he's barely speaking about his performance. He's just praising Kieran Culkin, and then Kieran Culkin's praising his script.
Also the performance for him is kind of natural. Like, he is obviously a very well-seasoned actor, and he knows exactly how to play it. He knows exactly how to interpret every line that he's written for himself. And he's also seems to be playing a version of himself where he's kind of like neurotic and anxious, and he has said that is his personality in interviews. So I think it's harder for people to say, oh, that's an amazing performance, because it feels like that's him. And that's the reason why I think it's going to be harder for him to get in here. But he does have that one scene at the dinner table, and he's just fantastic in it. And people might think of that when they vote. I would just like to see how he's going to continue to do, because like Critics' Choice has 6 slots, right? So they could easily go for him here. I don't even know what Critics' Choice is going to... They'll probably do Daniel Craig for Queer.
Critics' Choice might do Daniel Craig for Queer, but honestly, after seeing that movie even a second time, it just feels like it's trying to repel the Academy in some ways. I think Daniel Craig is extraordinary in it. I do think he'll get Critics' Choice, and BAFTA, like, if he gets both of those, he'll probably get Golden Globe too, then that's pretty good. He might even miss one of those, and it'll be kind of concerning.
But he has yet to get an Oscar nomination as well, so people might just want to see him in there.
That's the thing, is if it was anybody else, it would just not happen. But I think there's a lot of goodwill, and people may want to award him and recognize him in this way. I feel that he does have a decent case, and I'm not sure how well these others are holding up. Now, Glenn Powell, I actually think he's going to have a pretty good run. I'm expecting him to get a Critics' Choice nomination. I think critics have been pretty high on Hitman, whereas audiences and casual moviegoers pop it on Netflix and they're like, I don't really see what's so special about this. That's kind of what I'm getting. But I gotta tell you, where he can really break out here is by winning the Golden Globe for Comedy Actor, and I think that he is poised to do so currently, unless Eisenberg does it. Either one of them, like whoever wins that, people are gonna start going, oh, that's my number 5, right?
Yep.
That's what's gonna happen. Maybe you could try to call it now, or you could just say that people are probably going to get a little excited and ahead of themselves when it happens, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough to get him the Oscar nomination, but I do agree that he's the front runner for the Golden Globe comedy right now, which is a little crazy, but I mean, he's had a great year.
Can he get SAG? The performance isn't like a challenging, criticky performance exactly. Like, it's fun. So I think that it makes it somewhat SAG palatable, but again, I do fear that it's maybe just critics who are really into it, and the Golden Globes will be held after SAG voting is done, so his speech wouldn't help him get that. In conclusion, I'm kind of just going with Daniel Craig because I think that he has a shot to get Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and that would be
It's also a very serious performance from Craig. It's an actor going outside their comfort zone and doing something we don't really know them for.
It's also showy. Paul Mescal is basically done.
Doesn't stop some people from predicting him, though.
Do we have updates for supporting actress? I think we do.
You're putting me on the spot here.
Grande v.
Are you gonna call it?
Saldana?
Or are you gonna try to call Grande?
Well, let's go. Let's break it down this way. Critics' Choice will probably like Wicked a lot. It's probably going to get too many nominations. Might get editing. Might get cinematography. I'm scared. Who's going to win Critics' Choice?
I think whoever wins Critics' Choice is going to be on the back of who's already getting a lot of nominations, because again, Critics' Choice likes to go with who has the buzz at the moment. I just want to know who will take Critics' Circle Awards.
I think critics groups might want to go for Saldana a little bit more than Ariana Grande.
I could see Ariana Grande picking up an equal amount of critic awards to Saldana, and that would make me say that Grande has the edge. Who else? They might have like another favorite that we're not really thinking about.
Well, critics groups might try to go for Ingenue Ellis or Felicity Jones or
Deb Weiler even.
Or Natasha Lyonne and his three daughters. Like, they could try to throw her back into the conversation.
Yep.
But yeah, the televised awards, I think, will be between the two musical performances. I mean, I think there's one musical performance that's clearly just getting more buzz than the other. Saldana did have that one clip of her floating around. She is great in the movie. I think it's a bit more of a serious role than Grande, and that could be a real factor because maybe people will think it's a little too goofy, a little too Ryan Gosling and Barbie.
But also, what character moved people more? There's no question that goes to Galinda. That character is just burned in people's brains, it seems. You know, she's interesting, she's sort of complex, she has this layer to her. She's also fully a lead. They're both fully leads in each of their films. Saldana actually has the most screen time, Emilia Perez. Like, and she's also the protagonist, so it literally makes no sense. People are saying Saldana is like the one element of Emilia Perez that no matter what, you think it's really good. I think people would get behind that when they would support it. But and I don't know, how much hostility do you think there is towards like Ariana Grande like coming into film, this being her first big film role?
That could be a real factor. I mean, Jennifer Hudson did win for Dreamgirls, and that was her first acting role. Lady Gaga did not win for Star Is Born.
Yeah, and
there was a point in the year where people thought she would, and she was great. She definitely proved herself as an actress, but there's a real feeling that, and especially I think with maybe the more snobby bodies, perhaps the Oscars are one, where they may feel that Grande is a bit unproven as an actress because her only prior work is in Nickelodeon.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the proof, though. This performance is the proof.
Yeah, but maybe they're like, okay, yeah, well, she can do this because it's a singing role, it's a big role, it fits her really well. Could she do a kitchen sink drama? I'm not convinced. You know, maybe some people feel that way. But Saldana is more accomplished, like, in the world of film, and is giving a more serious performance.
Zoe Saldana's character in Emilia Perez is not very interesting at all. She's a lawyer who assists Emilia Perez in completing her transition and then assists her more in just like making sure she has the life she wants. And then by the end, like, she's only this assistant. Like, she's not really a person of her own. And I think she shines much more in the first half of Emilia Perez.
Kind of like Alicia Vikander in The Danish Girl. She's a lead, assisting another protagonist.
I guess so. I mean, Alicia Vikander probably had more of like a Beatty role.
I also think that Saldana being anointed the frontrunner, I don't know how much it's really stuck. Saldana feels like something that people stumbled upon maybe out of lack of a stronger contender. Like, she's very good. Right. It makes enough sense.
I think it took a while for people to get around this idea that Saldana is the frontrunner.
But they didn't anoint it like right out of the festival either.
Well, that was also because we didn't know if she was a lead.
Yeah, but sometimes you see something and you know, like, oh, that's a real contender. Like, that's a legit contender.
Yeah, people weren't calling her to win an Oscar, like, in the beginning. I think it came more out of, like, okay, well, now that we know she's in supporting, she is in most of the movie, she's been in all these blockbusting films, she's been also winning supporting actress in a musical. She was the only one going for that slot. I think Grande is some really strong competition for her.
I'm leaning Grande, and it's because when I go through the precursors in my mind, I think Grande has a better shot at SAG and Critics' Choice and maybe Golden Globe? Maybe Golden Globe.
Golden Globe could go either way.
Although we can't tell, really. I mean, we've only had the new Globes for so long. The old Globes absolutely would have gone for Grande.
Yeah.
BAFTA won't go for Grande, I believe. They will not.
No.
They will probably go for Saldana. Maybe Jones. Maybe Felicity Jones. Like, I don't know.
Right. I don't even know if BAFTA would do Saldana. Imagine this. Imagine BAFTA doesn't do Saldana, but Ariana Grande won SAG. Like, forget Critics' Choice for a second. You would already be like, okay, well,
Saldana's done.
Saldana, yeah, like she couldn't win BAFTA, and like Ariana Grande is coming off of a SAG, especially if fucking Wicked wins Best Ensemble and Best Supporting Actress. There's a lot of people like trying to shit on Wicked because it's doing really, really well, but Ariana Grande was really good in it. She was excellent. I wouldn't care to stop this from happening. I would just accept, like, yeah, that was a really good performance. That actually does deserve the award.
You can call me crazy, but I'm edging in Grande at number 1. Feels kind of weird, but Saldana didn't feel entirely unweird either.
I guess I'm going to do the same thing. It feels inevitable. It feels like I'm either going to do it this week or next week. Do we need to talk about the nominees? I mean...
Yeah, I have Ingenue Ellis at 4 because
4.
I see them campaigning her hard and her attending a lot of events. And I believe in Nickel Boys, and I think she's getting Critics' Choice. I think she's missing SAG. I think she'll get Globe, and I don't know if she'll get BAFTA.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either.
Actually, that's not if she misses SAG and BAFTA, that's not that good, but I could still justify it in my mind.
Cool, because Nickel Boys is a Best Picture contender.
And the Oscars will like it, I think, better than others. So, yeah, I have her in still.
It's a great performance. Like, that would make me so happy for her to get nominated for this. I need a good Nickel Boys turnout. Like, I need 5 nominations for that film.
Deadweiler's going to do well. She's going to get SAG. She's going to get Critics' Choice. And then everything else is like, whoo boy. Because I feel like the BAFTA will snub her. I'm going to be very concerned about the Oscar. Because she's a lone nominee. If you look at the other August Wilson films and the acting nominations they got, Danielle Deadweiler's not as big a name as Viola Davis, Denzel Washington, Chadwick Boseman.
I know that she's not safe, but I'm still putting her in now because if you see the movie, it's like, oh yeah.
Well,
oh yes,
absolutely,
of course.
I mean, she's getting properly campaigned, right? So that's good. I mean, yeah, I have her in. I'm just nervous because I also think that Rossellini, I've seen a lot of appreciation for the performance despite that it's only maybe 7 minutes of screen time.
Rossellini, look, she stands out. She may not have as much screen time as you want, but she's got 2, maybe 3 scenes where she's like really good. They're too short again.
The impression she left was great.
And her character is like, it kind of lingers as well, thinking about her.
I'm just curious what she'll get precursor-wise, because I could see her maybe showing up at Critics' Choice, Globe, and BAFTA, like maybe one or two
I think
of
it just depends a lot on precursors. Do you think maybe Oscars could just pull it out of their ass and be like, actually, yeah.
Yeah, that could
they could
happen.
do that too.
That could
I think
happen.
she'll be a contender down to the last minute. Kind of hard for me to call this category.
I don't expect to be 5 for 5 here, I'll tell you that.
It's hard for me to call this.
Now, Selena Gomez, she's a maybe for Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, and SAG. She's not getting BAFTA, I feel. Ariana Grande really has kind of taken over like the whole pop star in this category thing, though, hasn't she? I was already not sold on Selena Gomez, but now even more, I'm kind of like, yeah.
I don't think it cancels the other one out.
Selena Gomez is pretty good in Emilia Perez, and I think that's all about most people.
I agree. I think Selena Gomez is good in Emilia Perez, and it's not like amazing work. I think she's just going along with a movie that's very strong, really.
I think she's falling short of the Oscar. I wouldn't be shocked to see her get a precursor or two, but I think she's falling short of the Oscar. Anybody else? I mean, Monica Barbaro, we saw A Complete Unknown, and the initial buzz I was hearing around this performance, I was expecting to be pretty convinced that she was a player and maybe be very tempted to put her in, but I came away not so tempted. I mean, her voice is incredible, and most of her performance is really like these singing scenes, but I didn't see like a big emotional confrontation that maybe I thought or expected from a performance that's kind of in the Oscar conversation. Maybe her like being Joan Baez is good enough for people.
I think it would help her more if she was, I guess, better known. And the fact that she's coming in and this is like her first breakout performance for many people, I'm not sure it gets an Oscar nomination, but she is very good. But I don't see A Complete Unknown getting like 3 acting nominations unless this thing was I'm just totally underestimating this movie overall. But where I think it stands is Norton and Chalamet.
Quali. I mean, with that Astra nomination, I really wonder if critics are going to start trying to push her.
She might be in a Best Picture movie.
If she gets into Critics' Choice and The Substance starts to really take off, I mean, maybe she'll show up at Golden Globe, and would she show up at SAG? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I still have a harder time kind of seeing it because I do see this as being a pretty competitive category.
Her character is also just like, hi, I'm Sue, hello, for most of it, which isn't super baity, but then it goes off the fucking deep end. I think there's just so much more hype for Demi Moore's performance than hers. It would make sense if she didn't go along with the film. Like, I don't think she's a lock to go along with The Substance. It feels kind of like a surplus nomination that you could do.
I gotta say, Saoirse Ronan is gonzo.
For Blitz?
For Blitz.
I agree.
Blitz is
She's good enough in the movie for like a nomination if it was doing okay, but given that Blitz is not fine. Blitz is not okay. I don't know who's going to nominate it. I don't even think the Globes are going to fill it in their last slot for drama anymore.
No, I think
I just don't think it's doing well.
Oh, it's going to suffer. Yeah, I don't see how she's coming along with that. I think Natasha Lyonne could be a critic's push.
Right.
And I really hope so. I really do.
Oh my gosh.
And maybe she could
Amazing.
even win a big prize like New York Film Critics or something. But even then, I would not be convinced that she's getting nominated.
I think it's like Charles Melton in May, December.
But even less, because that movie was still like top 15 for Best Picture.
At best. Right.
His Three Daughters is not in the Best Picture conversation.
Yeah.
Nor in the Best Screenplay conversation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It feels like something that, kind of came and went on streaming.
I really love the film and highly recommend it. And it has more than three amazing performances. But
that's the thing
Natasha
also
Lyonne
is
great.
I think they're all campaigning and supporting. Is that right?
Strangely enough, yes.
So that also is like a little bit harder to get people to coalesce around her because of that. And I would say that's pretty much it. Like, you have Leonie Benesch for September 5. I don't even think that would happen if she went on Best Picture. That movie would need to be like very strong.
That's not even happening.
Toni Collette in Juror Number 2 is like...
I don't see it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Are we missing
Joan
anything?
Chen-Didi...
No.
Is mostly wishful thinking. Supporting actor, I now have Kieran Culkin at number 1. A Real Pain is doing so well that I think it makes sense for him to win.
We were even saying he could miss in, I think, about around the summer. For me at Sundance, A Real Pain kind of did blend in. Like, there's a lot of good movies you see at Sundance. It felt like it was one of the best ones that I saw. And I was just worried that it would come and go. But that's not happening. Ever since Telluride, it's been clear that Searchlight is giving this a really nice push and it's given it a good treatment. Kind of feels weird to say that Kieran Culkin is potentially the front runner, but I don't really know who else to say would be in there.
It is a very showy, funny performance, very emotional.
Yeah, it's a really memorable character. Just a fantastically written character, too.
Like one of the best wins.
Credit to Jesse Eisenberg's screenplay for bringing this to life. It really feels like the best part of A Real Pain is that character and then, like, how he's written. I was saying, if this is in Best Picture, he could win. And here we are. A Real Pain, I'm predicting it for Best Picture because I'm not sure I believe in anybody else to win. I don't really think I believe in it.
I think Guy Pearce could win. If A Real Pain wasn't in Best Picture, that's who I would have at number 1. I do think, though, that predicting him and Brody and potentially Corbett in Best Director is too much.
What do you think in the second watch of The Brutalist? Did you think Guy Pearce stood out as like, look out for him to win an Oscar?
I mean, I thought kind of the same thing. I think he has enough that I can see it happening, but it's not a lot. So
I feel like Guy Pearce as a villain in The Brutalist isn't quite as memorable as like, a villain who would win an Oscar. I don't know. It doesn't feel like iconic. And I do think that Adrian Brody towers over that performance even.
I have 6 people in this category that I'm trying to fit into 5 slots, and we're going to have to break down how that's going to be done. So I think Clarence Macklin in Sing Sing is looking pretty good. He has a great narrative. He's happy to campaign.
Playing himself, drawing from his own experience, and like just knowing that the theater background like is his foundation for acting. And then he brought this to the screen. It's like, it's really an amazing story to tell the Oscar voters. So I really hope this happens. His performance stood out even more to me on a second watch. I think the nomination's going to happen. I am looking out a little bit for like maybe he could win, but I'm not sensing that critics groups are going to do that for some reason. Like I don't think
he's going to win. I think Yura Borisov might be very in there. People have been shouting him out a lot to the point where Neon really caught word and has been going, oh, go, get the interviews out, like, let's push him out in front of everybody. And people have really come to recognize Yura Borisov as the heart and soul of the film. I mean, how do you not get nominated if you are the heart and soul of a film in the top 2 for Best Picture? I also think that he makes a lot of sense at the Oscars in particular. He doesn't have to get all the precursors, but I actually expect him to do very well at precursors. Like, I think he might get Critics' Choice. I think he might get Golden Globe.
I think a lot of critics groups are going to do him, and it's going to start to feel like, oh, of course, that's the contender.
I also
that's
think
the guy who we want to nominate from Anora.
BAFTA makes sense. Like, at first I was thinking, okay, maybe he gets like either Critics' Choice or Golden Globe, and then he gets BAFTA, and that feels like it could be enough for the Oscars because it does seem that Anora could use another nomination in its belt. And this is the one. I'm actually quite convinced that this is not going to slow down. The last 20 minutes of the movie is like, it's really about him. I've become quite convinced. I put him at number 4. And at number 5 is... Who knows?
Who knows? You don't even have an opinion on this?
I want to tell you that I think people are perhaps overestimating Denzel Washington.
Oh my god.
I understand that he's Denzel Washington. I understand that he gets nominated all the time.
Everybody who sees Gladiator, whether they like it or not, myself included, as someone who thought it was fine, is shouting him out as one of the year's best supporting performances and thinks that he's magnetic, amazing, the best part of the movie. How could this not happen?
Because it's a performance in an action movie that I honestly think most people don't care that much about it. Critics recognize that Denzel Washington is doing excellent work, but I keep hearing that people find him out of place. Like, Ridley Scott doesn't give a fuck about accents. For some reason, people care about his accent, but they don't care that everybody else in the movie is being British.
Well, let me just lay this out in case maybe this is you, like, thinking he feels out of place. No one in Gladiator 2 is doing the accent of the people at the time. We're just used to, like, okay, British accent equals period film, and the fact that Denzel Washington is speaking in his voice, I definitely feel that if this is an opinion you have, you need to, like, check yourself about it. Even Pedro Pascal is not doing a British accent, and people are not complaining about him. I think you have to concede that it's just, like, a racist thing about seeing a black person in a period film. Like, everybody has their accent in the movie, and the only person who's getting that complaint is Denzel Washington. That's all I gotta say. But I'm also skeptical that this is, like, a real problem. I don't think it's a real problem for anybody.
I
don't think
have to tell you that
voters.
I've just seen a lot of it. Even beyond that, though, most people think Gladiator 2 is fine and an unnecessary movie overall. Why do we think that Gladiator 2 must be locked for 5 nominations when
I'm not saying it's
the
locked for
reactions overall have been, like, very underwhelming and most people think that it's mid? Why would we be convinced that Denzel Washington's getting nominated?
Because he's Denzel Washington and he stands out, and it's kind of like Meryl Streep in Into the Woods or something. His character is actually interesting, you know, it has a layer to it.
But it's an action movie, and the only other precedent you have is Angela Bassett in Wakanda Forever,
who had way less screen time.
But people were like, oh, where's Angela Bassett been? There was this great narrative that popped up around her.
Yeah, and people thought, okay, there's a chance she might win the Oscar for this movie.
While Denzel Washington will be supported at Critics' Choice, and I think he'll make the Golden Globe, I'm concerned that there on out, we won't see him come up again, and he's not getting BAFTA because the BAFTA has never nominated him, and this is not going to be any different. I think we have to consider that he's vulnerable, and now that I've seen A Complete Unknown, and I think Edward Norton makes some sense. I don't know if he makes more sense than Denzel Washington, honestly, but he's playing a real musician. He's also actually playing the banjo. He's got a couple of really solid scenes that you could play as an Oscar clip.
Yeah, he's like playing the Mr. Rogers of folk music, where he's like, hey, everybody, here's what's really great about folk music, and I'm here to tell you about it. And he plays like the heart and soul of folk, and he has a monologue in the third act. It's like a slow push in on him telling the story, and the story is like meaningful towards what folk is. That moment kind of solidified, like, that's definitely a contender. He's also sprinkled in throughout the movie, and he's in the beginning a lot. Just the fucking teeth, the prosthetic nose, the bald cap, like the voice, playing the banjo, singing. I have him in my 5, but I don't know what to do because I don't know if Yuri Borisov in right now.
I also want to bring up Viola Davis in The Woman King, who got nominated everywhere, but her film wasn't in Best Picture, and it was like an action historical film, also that people were being racist about. And also it was Viola Davis, who supposedly can just get in for stuff.
I never
right?
bought that, though, because the lead...
But you did buy it. You had her predicted, man. It maybe took you a little longer. Yeah, of course. We predicted her at the end of the... She got every nomination, so of course we had to predict her.
Well, okay, at that point, yes. But I didn't really buy it, like, early on. After seeing the movie, I didn't really buy it. It was not, like, one of her very best performances. Whereas Denzel Washington, I think this is, like, one of his highlights.
It's a great performance. I think he's given so many amazing performances that it's not, like, top 5.
The only reason why I agree that he could be snubbed is because this category's gotten very competitive.
Yeah.
But I don't agree that the reason is because people are unhappy with it. Like,
it may or may not be the reason. It's just something I'm seeing a lot, and it makes me wonder if that's gonna factor in for some people. And also an above the line nomination in particular for an action movie, really hard to come by. Doesn't happen a lot. If Angela Bassett didn't happen, I think you might not even be predicting it.
That's not true. Again, Angela Bassett and Viola Davis, the comparisons that you're giving, I did not have confidence in would get in. Denzel Washington, it was like a no-brainer.
I'm just saying that my 5 right now is Edward Norton and Yuri Borisov.
Okay. Oh shit, you actually took him out?
Yeah.
I am not putting in Yura Borisov yet, but I don't think that I'm being reasonable. I'm not really sure what to do here.
Stanley Tucci for Conclave. People like it softly, but I don't know if people love it. Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice is great, but I'm not seeing that. Brian Tyree Henry, Fire Inside. This film has not come out yet. Could we see it take off later on in the year?
I think it's possible this could maybe get like a SAG nomination, but I also don't know exactly where the campaign is. I know it's Amazon. Maybe there's something there for him. It would make sense, like based on his performance in the film, his screen time, the kind of roller coaster you go on with him, like it makes sense if he were to get nominated, if he were to get a SAG nomination. But this movie has been pretty quiet overall, so I can't really put it in right now, but I would say like I have an eye out for that. Peter Sarsgaard for September 5. If anyone's getting nominated for September 5, I think this would be it in a weird way.
Why not John Majaro?
Well, he's the lead, but I think people know him less. I don't know, I think there's just less urgency around like that would be a nomination.
I don't see either of them. That's all I can tell you.
I don't see either of them either.
Adam Pearson, I think, will get some critics noms for A Different Man, but that probably won't result in an Oscar nom.
What about anyone else from Anora? Like, you think there's just no chance?
No, I think it's all been concentrated to Yura Borisov, even though Karin Kurigulan and Mark Edelstein are amazing in it. So we're ending off the video, but is there anything else you want to update? Like, original Screenplay, I had The Substance and September 5 in last time, if I'm correct. But now I've moved Sacred Fig over September 5.
Same here, but I still have faith in Challengers to get nominated. I think it's that or Seat of the Sacred Fig.
Challengers actually could, because Challengers is I think is poised to do kind of well. Like,
yeah,
Golden
like, it
Globes,
could pick
Critics'
up,
Choice.
one Oscar nomination.
That or Score, maybe.
And I've always had a hunch about it, so I kind of feel like it makes sense for me to just keep it in there and just hold on to the hunch.
In adapted screenplay, I'm thinking about if I want to put Wicked ahead of Emilia Perez. Now, I am wondering if Emilia Perez is really that strong in screenplay, particularly because most people do view it as being kind of messy, but it has the advantage of being, very original, I guess. On the other hand, musicals often get snubbed for screenplay, especially Broadway adaptations, because maybe people see them as being, kind of directly adapted and maybe not so much creative has been done. But if we really believe Wicked is a top 3 contender, which I keep being unable to talk myself out of,
it would honestly, it just wouldn't be surprising.
It might just show up.
It just wouldn't be surprising at the end of the day.
So do you want to call that?
Yes, I do. I do want to put Wicked in adapted screenplay.
All right, fuck.
Genuinely, I think it might not even be number 5. I think something else.
Oh, that's number 5.
I think it might move up to like number 3 or 4.
Nope. No, it's very on the cusp. Like, West Side Story wasn't nominated, Les Mis wasn't.
I think the point is, there's 6 Best Picture contenders in here, 6 that I expect to get nominated. And I think it's going to come down to one of the musicals getting snubbed from this category. And Emilia Perez has a lot more backlash about, like, it's not a good story.
I mean, at the same time, Wicked, who's the screenwriter? Emilia Perez, the screenwriter, is Jacques
Who cares
Audiard.
who the screenwriter is?
People care who the screenwriter is. One of these is a writer-director and the other isn't.
No, I don't think it matters that much. Again, I think it's a vote because for liking Wicked. It's I like Wicked, yay Wicked.
In Best Sound, I've moved in a complete unknown, and I've taken out Blitz. This actually is a decision I feel pretty great about for 2 reasons. Number one, a complete unknown really convinced me about that sound nomination. It's like Inside Llewyn Davis and then a lot more. Meanwhile, Blitz is falling hard in a lot of categories, and the sound work is absolutely worthy, and maybe the Academy will nominate it based off the merit, but it just feels like this losing horse that is not going to get as many nominations as we thought. I mean, last predictions video in our tech categories, we had it in 3 awards. I've taken it out of 2 of them. This is one. The other is costumes, where I just didn't feel that the costumes were so strong they could withstand the Blitz problem. And so I put in Beetlejuice. Now, that getting a makeup costume pair is actually not really that crazy at all. The costume designer for Beetlejuice is none other than Colleen Atwood, 4-time winner, one of the people that gets nominated all the time, and in fact, most of the time she gets nominated, it's for movies that aren't in Best Picture, such as Series of Unfortunate Events.
I still have Blitz in costume and production design, but I don't know if it's going to last. I just can't tell.
Take it out of costumes for Beetlejuice, man. There's enough material there for a costume nomination. Blitz is Jacqueline Duran, and she's a favorite too, but I still have Blitz in production design because I don't think that I'm quite enticed enough by an alternative like Conclave yet. We'll see how that goes. Other than that, my predictions are pretty much the same. I have moved Moana out of original song because I heard that the songs aren't that good. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Are you as scared about Wicked as I am?